We didn't have guns, but it was as aggressive as you like. When I was coming up, there was still endless fights, altercations with security, with the police, and with other artists. You know, there was no women. It was, you know, thank God for grime. You know, because grime was kind of born out of a marriage of rap and garage. Yeah. And anyone who remembers garage in the 90s, it was such a sort of joyful place.
It was.
You know, even though these were guys from the street as well. And so we always used to look at garage and go, how do they do it? Because we're fighting every night. What's going on? And grime really brought the sort of party back to urban music. But yeah, you know, some of the venues I was battling in, like, I mean, Mudlums, Dingwalls in Camden, there's bonkers in there, always, you know.
And was that the stress and pressure of it?
The stress was killer. I mean, when I think about battling, that's what prepared me for comedy. That's what prepared me for stand-up, right, so without any shadow of doubt.
So I must remember never to heckle you.
Yeah, because you know what, especially in the early days on the circuit, when people would say rude stuff, I was like, dude, I'm not Michael McIntyre. I will kick you in the face. I don't care. I don't care. Like, I got into stand-up, and I needed to earn. I had a kid. I had another one on the way. I was broke. You know. I was looking at it from a rap perspective. I was like, how do I make money? Like, now. I ain't got time to fuck around. Yeah. So my comedy was always not aggressive, but it always felt urgent, and people reacted to that mostly in a positive way. But when they reacted negatively, I wasn't interested in a witty comeback. I was just like, dude, you must be out of your fucking mind right now. Yeah. You know, I'd get really angry. So I was still trying to shake that, you know, that rapper out of me, because that's how I was raised. And the battles were, so intense. And in those days as well, it was all improvised. So really anything could happen. Now rap battling I think it's way better. I should say that first and foremost. I think it's way more entertaining, but it's all pre-written, which is fine. It's absolutely fine, because it's way cleverer. It's more theatrical. It's just more worth your money for the entrance fee, because these guys have spent months putting together the ultimate disrespect for the other guy, whereas we were just like, oh, look at your face, look at your girl, look at this, look at that, just trying to pick anything that the crowd could see the same way as we could, you know. And there's an art in that, no question. But it was lawless. It was right on the edge there, you know. And it was known sometimes. So the wrong person makes the wrong person angry, you know, joking about them or their mum to their face, and it's going to turn into a physical altercation. And that shit happened. So by the time I was competing in So You Think You're Funny, sort of national comedy battle, it was, you know, it was nervy at times, but it was nothing like having to go up face to face as close as we are now, eye to eye, and try and tear someone's life apart and risk having yours torn apart, and your livelihood, you know, and your reputation, which when we were rapping for no money, the reputation was everything, absolutely everything. I would have been torn down way quicker. Just think about it. If anybody who questions my background or my ability to do what I do, I would have been torn down years ago if I wasn't from where I was from. If I didn't have the experience that I had, people would be like, who the fuck is this guy that thinks he can talk about these things? You know? All of that past prepared me so well for this. And it's to the point wherein when I started doing stand-up, I wasn't even writing jokes. I was just coming out and going, I'll tell a little story. Sometimes people would laugh, sometimes they wouldn't. Either way, I'd be like, I don't give a fuck. Like, what you guys laugh at? I just didn't care. I didn't care at all. And it was so weird. Sometimes no one would laugh at all, but I'd never get heckled or booed because I looked so sure-footed that people would go, this is leading somewhere. Everything you've done? This is leading somewhere. Okay. You know, because there was no fear in my eyes. They go, this is like a long, It's like building tension, then he's going to break it with like a huge gag at the end, and nothing would be forthcoming. It's like, that was just a talk. What was that? It's too late. I'm gone. You know, and I just didn't care. I was, you know, at that time when I started doing stand-up, I was actually employed as a writer at Radio 4, and it was them that convinced me to do. Yeah, that's what I did.
What kind of things were you doing?
I was a script consultant. That was my very first job in comedy for a Lenny Henry vehicle on Radio 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you do some? I mean, obviously you're quite adept at English. It's quite clear. But were you quite academic in terms of the English language? Because it sounds like you've got extraordinary vocabulary.
Definitely in English and drama. They were the only two subjects in school that I had any interest in. They were the only ones I didn't goof around in.
Yeah.
So like in English, when they'd have like, you know, we'd be studying a book and they'd ask if anyone wanted to read out loud, I would always be the guy. They had to stop me from doing it.
Right, yeah.
But there's loads of kids, vast majority, they didn't want to speak out loud in front of the class. I loved it. And drama the same. I'd never goof off in those classes. And drama was a big goof off class. Just like art, you know, where all the other kids would just be pissing around.
Yeah.
I was like, no, this is my shit. So that was always ingrained in me, even though I wasn't what you would call an academic. You know, I was never really that into school. Once a kid is clearly only interested in one thing, they should be able to follow that. Like, I knew instinctively in year 8 that I didn't need to know about the sediments of rock and the forming of a nimbulous cloud or whatever the fuck. Do you know what I mean? I just thought, I know this is important, but there's a kid somewhere who this is everything to him, and he will be telling us that there's going to be a storm tomorrow, or that a volcano is about to erupt in 20 years' time. I'm not going to be your guy for that, you know? So why am I here? And I think the smart kids who aren't academics will always act up more, because they'll be in Spanish class, or they'll be in geography, or they'll be in science just going, I don't care. I've got no interest in this. Why am I here? You know, let me go and study what I'm interested in. And so they'll become very disruptive, and I was a little bit like that. But it's interesting talking about that Lenny Henry show, because it was music that really pushed me into comedy even at that stage, because I'd long given up on being a rapper at that stage. It'd been about a year, and I'd had a year of experiencing the first bout of depression. I realise now, looking back, you know, because I really wanted rap to work, and I just couldn't work out how to make it work. And everything in my life, I've always felt like if I believe in it enough, it will happen. And it just didn't happen. And it really got me down. And then the next thing I know, I'm working for Lenny Henry, and when the series came to an end, you know, you meet producers and whatnot, and this one producer got me another gig working on another Radio 4 comedy show, and it was a sports parody, like a sort of a spoof of the Sky Sports panel on a Saturday. You know, those blokes just like, my god, you know, this has just happened. It was quite funny. It was called Look Away Now, and you know, they'd parody a different sport as well every week, and they'd always get a musical comedian in to write the end theme.
Right.
So a theme tune encompassing all the actors and the crew and stuff, that was somehow relevant to the sport that they were talking about that week. And we did cricket one week, and this musical comic who was booked to be an actor on it as well came in and didn't realise that he was booked to write the end song as well, so he hadn't written anything. And they were like, oh shit, oh well, we'll just use the opening theme at the end. And I was like, well, I could write something. And they were like, no, don't worry about it, we got like an hour until we bring the audience in. So it's a radio theatre at the BBC. And I was like, no, I can write real quick, you know, I come from that world, I can just write really quickly. And they were like, alright, look, if you want to try, you've got an hour, but don't worry about it, you know? So I was like, cool. And I took this keyboard, and I just went and sat in a green room, and I wrote, like I just did as like a parody of the that cricket theme tune, you know, just different enough that we weren't going to get sued. And then I just did a rap to it, you know, name checking everybody. Real simple. And I showed it to the producer, a guy called Paul Schlesinger, because he was like, all right, like, fuck it, we'll use the opening theme, let's open up the doors, let people in, get everyone settled. And I was like, oh, no, I've done it. He's like, what? I've done it, I've written it. And he goes, all right, hold on, close the doors. And everyone gathers around, and I press play, and I do the little rap. And they were looking at me like I'd just turned water into wine, like, you know. They were like, how the fuck did you do that? And I was like, I know, like, you know, like I rap, like I make things up. And they're like, you rap? And I was like, yeah, like I used to be a rapper. And they're like, that's crazy. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So, I performed it at the end of the show, and the audience like loved it. And after the show, Paul said to me, dude, like, you know, you came into Radio 4 as a script consultant.
Yeah.
Then we had you writing gags. Now you're telling me you can write like funny songs.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't. And you used to be a rapper. He's like, why are you not performing? Like, you should be performing like musical comedy. And it just hadn't occurred to me. I was still very much in like rap mode. I was like, well, I'm not a joke, bro. Do you know what I mean? So. And it was him, really. Looking back, it was Paul Schlesinger, who at the time was the head of comedy at Radio 4, and a freelance producer called Ben Walker, who now produces a lot of Richard Herring's content. He produces the big interviews that he does at Leicester Square Theatre, and he produces stuff for Pappy's as well. It was those two really who I credit with getting my career started, because they both were like, dude, like, you should be on stage doing funny shit. That's what you should be doing. And they were the ones that encouraged me and found me, you know, places where I could go with no pressure to perform. And that's how it all started.
How funny. All that sounds.
It was not a plan of mine.
It's all mad sliding doors, isn't it? It really is. But you hear, I mean, that's an extraordinary story. But you hear things do, you know, sliding doors do occur, and that is a very obvious example.
They do, but you've got. It's like they say in sports, you've got to make your own luck. So you've got to be there for that door to slide open. That's the key thing. So people say, oh, this happened and that happened. It was no plan of mine, which I very much believe about comedy. However, I'd maneuvered myself into a position where that could happen. If I stayed in my old job, it just wouldn't have happened. You know, I was running a youth club in Kilburn. If I just stayed doing that, if I stayed doing that, that just never would have happened. You know, that would have happened to somebody else. That's just facts. I wouldn't have been anywhere near enough for that sliding door to open. I was 30 years old the first time I stood on a stage doing stand-up. 30 years old.
Of course, 2008,
I was not famous in the slightest. It's another reason I connect to Ricky a lot, because Ricky's not impressed by celebrity.
No.
It's not something he desires, and it's not something that impresses him in any way, shape or form. And I'm exactly the same. There's literally no one apart from probably David Attenborough who you could put in front of me where I'm just like, oh my god, and I just turn to jelly. No, they're all human beings. Their shit all smells the same, you know. And maybe if I got famous at 21, if Ricky got famous at 21, well, Ricky would definitely be a prick if he was famous at 21. We've all seen those photos of him from the 80s.
The eyeshadow.
You know what I mean? He was prick ready. But no, I definitely would have been as well, because at the time when I was 21, all I wanted to be was a famous rapper. I wasn't that good, you know. I was average. I'd won a couple of battles. But that doesn't make you a good rapper. That just makes you quite arrogant, if anything, because you just say, "Oh, I can beat anybody."
No,
you're not focusing on the songwriting.
Life lessons. And
30, I had a kid. I had another one on the way. I was scrubbing shit off a mattress. Do you know what I mean? I was running a youth club for impoverished kids. Do you know what I'm saying? I've been doing that for 7 years. So like when show business came along, I was very skeptical of it. I kept it at hand's length, and 8 years later, I still do the same thing. I keep it at an arm's length. I genuinely don't believe anything that anybody tells me, apart from Ricky, because he's always been real with me, and he's not impressed. He's not fazed by anything. He's not like, oh, come to this party, you'll meet so and so. He's not even going to the parties. Can't be asked. If I'm not doing something that feels right, feels intelligent, feels entertaining, then I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. people always say to me, dude, like, I remember Richard Osman saying to me, we did a show called Taskmaster together, and he was like, why aren't you on more panel shows? I should see you on TV all the time.
It's not really a thing, though.
I just don't like them.
No.
I'm not going to make a meal for someone that I would never eat myself. You know? 8 out of 10 cats. No, I don't watch it. It's not for me. Respect to everybody that does it, but that's their world. They're trying to sell tickets to stand-up shows. I'm trying to create something that is going to live long in the memory for myself, my friends, and for the audience, the fans that have come with me on this journey that know that when I'm involved, it's going to be a slightly higher quality. There's going to be something more to take home. You know, and that's all I'm ever involved in. I want to be involved in stuff where it stays with you. Like the next day, you're thinking, actually, that was kind of deep. Like what he was saying there. You know,
that's a great attitude.
And that's it. But why else would I do it? You know, I got 2 kids to feed. That doesn't mean I have to do bullshit. They're not going to starve.
How old are you?
If I take 10 and 8. They're not going to starve if I don't do like Holby City. Do you know what I mean? Exactly. They're not going to starve.
No, of course not.
I'm not going to be as wealthy as the other guys. I'm not going to be as wealthy as James Corden. But then that's because I'm not saying yes to everything. I will actually say no to 8 out of 10 things. And I'll do the other 2 because they're either very interesting or they're just really good fun. Like that will be a fun day. Look who else is working on it. That's going to be fun. I will do it on that basis.
And look at what you have chosen. It's been brilliant stuff. So you must have a good knack for it.
You can look at my CV since I got into show business, and I challenge anyone to pull something out of there. It's like, oh, that was just trash. It's just not there.
No,
it's not there. I just didn't do it.
No.
Didn't do it, mate. What about when you were on Buzzcocks? Didn't do it. Didn't do it, mate. Wasn't on it. It never happened, you know? Everything I do is my decision. I'm not being guided by some flipping trolls who just need to make their 20% off me so desperately that they're going to push me into doing it. No one's going to push me, mate. It'll make your career last longer in the long run. And also you'll enjoy it more. I meet, every single day I meet people who, civilians would give their right nut to meet. I meet them and they're not fucking happy. They hate what they're doing. And I think if only your fans knew this, why don't you do something that makes you happy? You only get one life. I mean, it just seems insane to me. But I've challenged myself at every turn. Like to go from 44,000 people at the Isle of Wight to like 30 people in a room in Stafford, where I'm like, I've paid like 60 quid in petrol to get there. I'm getting paid 25 quid. The hotel on laterooms.com's 85 quid. Do you know what I mean? I'm like 160 quid down. And I died on my arse.
But I was
learning.
No, it's brilliant. It's
because
brilliant.
I didn't believe that I could just jump into stand-up. As soon as I saw what it was really about, I was like, oh my god, this is hard. And to this day, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. It's harder than the battles because I didn't have to prepare for the battles. It was improv. Trying to think of funny things to say that people from all walks of life are going to relate to. That's fucking tough. The battles, you knew who was in the room. Like the 200 people, they were all like you. They were all young, male, and they loved rap. Do you know what I'm saying? The gigs I was doing, if there was a couple people who even listened to rap, I would have been lucky. Do you know what I'm saying? So to get to a point where I had my own audiences come in I can't think of anything tougher. Those first 2 years in stand-up, I don't think I'll ever do anything tougher in show business ever in the rest of my life. Those first 2 years, ask any comedian, they'll tell you the same thing. Those first 2 years trying to find your voice, find your feet, know what you want to talk about.
And when you say find your voice as well, it is also about projection, isn't it? Sometimes, especially in the smaller venues.
So the first year I didn't write hardly at all. I just was cocksure and loud and aggressive, but not that funny. The second year I realised you had to write. You had to write. You had to create interesting and intelligent concepts. So I started doing that, but as soon as I started doing that, I couldn't find my own voice. And I became heavily influenced by the artists that I saw. So for me it was Sean Locke.
Yes.
And my second year was just trying not to sound like Sean Locke. That was my mission for the year, you know. And the third year was where I cracked it. The third year, and this was difficult for me because I was moving so fast, because I was doing something that was different to everybody else.
Yeah.
So I was being elevated at a speed that most comics aren't.
Right.
And I didn't find that comfortable at all, because I didn't feel ready. I didn't have enough material. I didn't, you know, I didn't have enough experience in the art form. But at the same time, I do like a challenge. So, you know, what I started doing was writing in a whole different way. Overnight it changed. Something happened, I can't remember what gig it was, but I said something off the cuff, which was what I really felt in that moment, right then, right there. And it felt amazing. And I went home and I just wrote pages of what I think about my own life, about life in general, about the world. No jokes, just wrote it all out. What I genuinely think, what I genuinely believe. And then I went back through it and tried to find the absurdities in it.
Yeah.
And create jokes around those absurdities.
Right.
Rather than how I wrote before, which is how I think a lot of young comedians write. Just like, oh, that's a funny line, how do I get there? So then you end up in that world of... And then this woman next to me said the most middle class thing I think I've ever heard in my life. Or, you know... And then I just did the craziest thing I've ever done. No, you didn't. None of this shit happened, man. Just shut the fuck up. I wanted to find something real, and everything changed overnight. I think the first thing was about being mixed race. I wrote something about growing up in the 80s, being mixed race. And it was just 100% true. 100% true. Yep. All of it was 100% true. But I found something absurd in every paragraph, and it was the most mature bit of stand-up I'd ever done. And I was like, fuck, I want all my stuff to be like this, all of it. And that's how I write to this day, you know.
That's brilliant, mate.
I find the rest of the funny on stage.
Yeah,
you know?
It just happens.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose when you're being dictated to, like someone like Ricky Trace, cut that down, cut that. You know, I suppose you learn little bits as well.
Ricky's very economic. He doesn't say anything. I mean, I'll never be like Ricky in terms of stand-up, because his stand-up is so intricate. Every single word is there for a reason. Whereas I don't like to write to the same point. I think there's definitely two schools of thought in stand-up throughout, and me and Ricky are probably good examples of both sides. I like to get out there and just chat. So even if that means a minute or so without laughing, I just chat, because for me it's quite important for you to know what I genuinely believe.
It's probably why the two of you work so well together.
Yeah, because I think he is economic, he's abrasive, he's dangerous.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a shit.
No.
Me, I'm probably the opposite in all ways. I think our energy is very similar. I think we're both quite intense. But I want people to like me. I don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah.
I want to tell long stories. I want to, you know, give them pieces of myself. Ricky likes to retain as much privacy as possible.
Yeah.
You know, and I think you're right. I think when I support him, I love it, because people are expecting a mini Ricky. They're expecting like, oh well, Ricky's probably plucked the next, you know, Frankie Boyle style, fuck everybody. And my stuff's really like, I'm like a big hippie, you know. I'm just like, can we all just have a bit of a loving, you know? Yeah.
But it works. It must be a brilliant, excellent match.
And I think we do go together quite well. And then our partnership actually physically together on stage and on screen, I think looks funny, which is a crucial thing.
Yes.
You know, like Morecambe and Wise. There's a homage to Morecambe and Wise in the movie where we share twin beds.
Yes.
And Morecambe and Wise used to make me laugh when I was a kid, before I even said anything, because they just looked funny. Because Ernie was so small, and Eric was just massive and quite aggressive, and he had the glasses, and they looked funny before they said anything. Just like a Monty Python sketch where you'd have Cleese or Chapman with Palin or Jones, and immediately you just saw this authority and then this sort of geeky accompaniment. And I think we've taken that and run with it. We've inverted it. So Ricky's always the authority, but physically he's tiny up against.
Yes,
you know?
That's true.
And I'm sort of like, go along with it. kind of like a sort of friendly presence, but I tower over him. So it's something a little bit different. And obviously you got the black and white thing. And, but we are an odd couple on the surface, but underneath we're remarkably similar in terms of our life experiences.
Yes, and your stories.
What we've been through, our stories, both from the council estate, both working class lads, you know, both very, very driven, both have an immense level of self-belief and won't be told anything by anybody about what we're doing. And we're both good creators. We're both very much like, I like doing this. I'm sure he liked being in the museum and having fun doing that. I loved being in like Law and Order or whatever. But there's a limit to that shit. You know, Ricky was never gonna do like a spin-off movie with that character and have all these. You know, we're creators. Eventually, we want to go. Okay, lovely. This is my shit. Here's my shit. You know, we're exactly the same in that respect. So, I think there's a number of reasons we work together well. And I hope to be working with him for a long time.
I'm sure you will, mate, because you don't have... This doesn't happen very often, I'm guessing, with somebody like him and respectively, somebody like you, in the sense that if you didn't like what he did... And I'm not
that would be awkward.
Then that would be really awkward, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because people often say to me, like, you must take umbrage with some of the things he says. I'm like, that hasn't happened yet.
No.
It hasn't happened yet.